Democrats are hoping to seal a major legislative win this week after negotiations between West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer produced a breakthrough, a huge breakthrough and quite a surprise on a climate and health care initiative that could give Democrats much needed momentum going into the midterms. Timing is set to be critical here as the Senate breaks for recess by the end of the week. But have Democrats made a strategic error by not first securing the key vote that they will need to pass this legislation? That is Arizona's Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Joining us now is John LaBombard. He served as the former communications director for Senator Kyrsten Sinema. He is currently a senior vice president at ROKK Solutions, which is a bipartisan public affairs firm. All right, John, you tell us, did they mess up by not including her?
Thanks for having me. I don't know that they messed up by not including her. The strategy on Senator Schumer and Senate leadership's part is a little bit perplexing to me in how they rolled it out and allowed the caucus to learn about this via press release with some provisions that were not included in the House passed bill or the White House framework last year. That said, I know Senator Sinema. I know the metrics she's using to analyze this proposal. And I think it should be perhaps both annoying to some in Washington, but heartening that she's not going to give in to pressure from either side. She's going to take a substantive look at what this proposal would mean for everyday Americans.
Yeah, when you look at this proposal, I mean, from a revenue standpoint, it raises more than it spends through 15% corporate minimum tax, prescription drugs, very popular across the country, but also in Arizona. Critically, the carried interest loophole, which we'll get to, but also energy security, climate change, Affordable Act extension, things that are broadly popular, both, I imagine, in Arizona and around the country. Have you spoken to Senator Sinema or any of her staff in the last few days and gotten a sense of how she might vote?
I have not gotten a sense of how she's going to vote on this. I know her, and I know sort of the lens through which she looks at this. You went through some of the key pieces of this proposal. You're right. I think they're popular, and I think a huge swath of this proposal represents something that could earn consensus from 50 senators in the U.S. Senate today, including Senator Sinema. The climate provisions that you mentioned, she's talked extensively about how a changing climate represents a real challenge to Arizona and our country. I have a feeling that she's looking at this through almost a singular lens, which is this going to achieve the goals of getting at rising costs that Americans are facing and solving some of these big problems like changing climate? And is it going to achieve those goals without unintended consequences, without inadvertently further hampering our economic recovery? And if it earns her vote, I think it will have met those metrics.
So, well, what wouldn't then? What would the hangups be, in your opinion, looking through that lens as you see what's in this bill?
Sure. Well, some of this is guesswork, but obviously it's no secret that Senator Sinema has been keenly interested in tax policy, how the revenue is raised for this proposal. And she's perhaps a little old-fashioned this way. She thinks we should be very cautious and very thoughtful when we're talking about raising taxes or raising tax revenue, to make sure that it's done in a way that doesn't harm our economic competitiveness. We're in a pretty precarious economic moment right now, emerging from a pandemic, record inflation, supply chain disruptions. So I have a feeling she's going to be looking very closely at those tax provisions and making sure that they're not going to carry on any unintended consequences.
But look, I mean, this is someone who was a former Green Party activist. If Republicans take either control of either house, which seems not unlikely, this could be the last chance to do something big on climate. Do you think Senator Sinema would really trade carried interest for climate change and kill the bill?
Yeah, it's a good question. And here's what I would say to that. I, again, think that there's huge swaths of this bill that could quickly, and I do think time is of the essence, to your point at the top, quickly earn consensus from 50 senators to support and advance this legislation. I don't know, honestly, where Senator Sinema is going to land on the carried interest provision or anything else, and there may be others who raise concerns and objections. As a Democrat who wants to see this get done, including someone who has worked for red state Democrats like Senator Sinema and others, what I would hope sincerely is that Senator Schumer and Senate leadership do not let any hangups over, for instance, a provision that represents a pretty tiny portion of this bill in terms of revenue, the carried interest provision. I hope that there's nothing that hangs up the huge swaths of these bills that could earn consensus from 50 senators.
John, it is great having your insights here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Very helpful, very important.